So you're probably familiar with a lot of the top cabinet terrible nominees of Donald Trump. They become household names. The Pete Hegseths, the Pam Bondis, the Tulsi Gabbards, the RFK Juniors. But you may be less familiar with these terrible appointments that are going on all over the country. And that's what I want to talk about tonight. The position of U.S. attorneys and how Trump is doing an end run around the usual process to install these hardcore, unqualified partisans that will prosecute crimes throughout the country. So the way the process usually works is the president nominates someone for U.S. attorney. They go through a confirmation process in the Senate in which the home state senators either return a blue slip and say they're okay going forward, or they don't, in which case the person is not confirmed for the position. But Trump is putting forth such unqualified people. He knows they won't get the proper approval of home state senators, so he's trying to do an end run. California's Central District is a perfect example. So Donald Trump already complaining that it's taking him too long to get his hardcore right-wing nominees in place. In fact, here's a recent tweet, is trying to do an end run around the process completely by installing people without nominating them. So how does that work? Well, in the Central District of California, Trump appointed an interim U.S. attorney named Billisley. Billisley was an assistant U.S. attorney who became a right-wing member of the state assembly, known for his outbursts, his temper tantrums. His vehement anti-LGBT agenda. He gets appointed as the interim U.S. attorney by Donald Trump. Now, under the law, you can only serve in that position without being confirmed for 120 days. Well, 120 days was up on Wednesday, but as Asaley explained to Glenn Beck, they had some tricks up their sleeve. Here he is.
Bill,
giving up.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Your term is up at the end of this month?
Potentially. We've got some tricks up our sleeves.
Good. I hope so. Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Glenn.
So what is the trick that Billisley, this right-winger, was alluding to Glenn Beck, that the White House was going to use to circumvent the law? When after 120 days, not only was he not confirmed, he wasn't even nominated by the president. So the way they did the end run is they appointed Asaley as the first assistant U.S. attorney. That's the number 2 position in the office. And because there was no longer any U.S. attorney, he could then assume the duties as acting U.S. attorney. And that would give him, in theory, 210 days to be the acting U.S. attorney and avoid any Senate confirmation, avoid any blue slip process, avoid really any scrutiny of his terrible record. So let me talk about that terrible record and why Donald Trump knew he could never get him confirmed as a U.S. attorney. So Billisley, as U.S. attorney, goes before the grand jury with meritless cases, with cases attacking protesters or other people present during these immigration raids, and the grand jury refuses to return an indictment. Now that is very unusual, but apparently about 40 times that Asaley has gone before the grand jury, most of those indictments have been refused by the grand jury. Only 7 indictments out of those 40 have been returned by the grand jury. When a grand jury refuses even the low burden of probable cause, it's called a no bill. That is, they don't return a bill of indictment. They're very rare. When you go to trial in a case, you have to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The burden on the grand jury, where it's only the prosecution, they're not hearing from the defense even, is just the low bar of probable cause, and he can't meet this bar. So Billisley has now become nicknamed within his own office as No Bill Asaley. In fact, grand jurors apparently heard Asaley complaining about the grand juries not returning these indictments, and also the Justice Department wanting to adhere to the Justice Manual, when he was overheard screaming at attorneys in the Justice Department, "Fuck the Justice Manual." Now, what he meant by that, "fuck the Justice Manual," is the Justice Manual says you don't seek an indictment where the standard is probable cause unless you believe ultimately you can prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt at trial. Well, Asaley's view is, fuck that. Let's just indict people even if we can't prove them guilty at trial. That is so unethical. but this is who they want as U.S. Attorney. Not only that, but in the short time as the interim U.S. Attorney, he has now moved to dismiss an excessive use of force case against a police officer who brought a woman down to the ground, pepper sprayed her when she was unarmed, when there was no crime involved, and senior prosecutors resigned when Asalee moved to reduce the charges or reduce the sentence, and now Asalee is moving to dismiss the case altogether. Similarly, in another serious case in the office, an indictment of the former CEO of Fatburger for essentially failing to declare $47 million to the IRS and engaging in fraud, Asalee is now moving to dismiss that case. And it won't surprise you that that CEO is a major donor to Donald Trump. It also may not surprise you, although it should, and it should shock you, that he also, the Justice Department and the White House also moved to fire the prosecutor in that case, the assistant U.S. attorney in Los Angeles prosecuting that CEO. They fired him because Laura Loomer complained to the White House that he was some kind of Biden holdover. So in the Central District of California, if you've got enough money to send the president's campaign a big check, or you can get Laura Loomer to weigh in on your behalf at the White House, you can get your prosecutor fired, you can get your case dismissed. That's been the Justice Department in the Central District of California under Billisley. Now, this isn't only Billisley that they've done this end run. In New Jersey, there's a woman named Alina Habba. No prosecutorial experience. She was nominated to be the U.S. attorney in this particular district because she was one of Trump's criminal defense lawyers. 120 days went by. They couldn't confirm her. And at that point, by statute, the district court is empowered to appoint a U.S. attorney, and they did. They appointed someone named Desiree Grace, a veteran, well-respected prosecutor. Well, Pam Bondi and Trump were so furious, they fired this court-appointed U.S. attorney, and they appointed Alina Habba. Now, the problem here is they had nominated Alina Habba. In Billisley's case, they hadn't even nominated him. And by statute, you can't appoint someone that you've nominated and that has not been confirmed. This has thrown this New Jersey prosecutorial district in turmoil. It means that judges are withholding sentencing and status conference. It means that defense attorneys are claiming indictments are invalid because you don't have a properly appointed U.S. attorney. It is havoc. And it is havoc because Pam Bondi and Donald Trump want this partisan hack with no prosecutorial experience as U.S. attorney, contrary to law. They're doing a similar end run in New York, again appointing a first assistant to let them become U.S. attorney because they can't get this political partisan confirmed. And in Nevada, same exact game plan. The prosecutor they nominated in Nevada, so outrageous, so partisan, with prior statements about hanging people from cranes, the most just out there aggressive, bile-filled statements that over 100 retired federal judges weighed in and said, do not appoint this person. That person is now first assistant and therefore acting U.S. attorney. This is the end run they are doing. So let's look at Alina Habba. Here she is in a statement about Jeffrey Epstein.
But in this case, in Epstein's case, it is incredibly disturbing. We have flight logs, we have information, names that will come out.
Is it going to be shocking?
I don't see how it's not shocking.
So here we are with diehard partisans being installed in these U.S. attorney positions, doing an end run around Congress and the confirmation process so that these top prosecutors are not looking out for the public safety, but are vindicating and validating and prosecuting the president's partisan agenda. Indeed, Billisley said he would go out of his way to do whatever he could to embarrass Democratic politicians. That is not the kind of person should have a position of responsibility like U.S. attorney. And whether they call them U.S. attorneys or acting U.S. attorneys or first assistant U.S. attorneys or interim U.S. attorneys, the result is all the same, and that is partisan hacks, ignoring the rule of law, not making you safe or our communities.
So effective immediately, I am promoting you from assistant to the regional manager to assistant regional manager.
Michael, I don't know.
I know. I wouldn't be offering it if I didn't think you could handle it.
I can handle it.
I know.
I can.
Okay.
So I guess this will just be my office.
No. Title change only.
I'll have Pam send out a memo.
No. 3-month probationary period. Let's just not tell anybody about this right now.
Just a formality.
Absolutely, but not really.
Michael, I have so much to learn from you.
Yes, you do.
Hey everybody, so I started to make these nightly videos because I kept hearing from people with everything going on. It'd be nice to have some explanation at the end of the day that helps make sense of it all. So that's what I've tried to do, but I would love your feedback, and if you'd like to continue the conversation, please join along, but let me know. Are there subjects you want me to cover? Are there movie clips you want me to include? As you can tell, I'm a movie fan, but I hope we'll get to continue the conversation and welcome your feedback.